The debt collector's voice was calm but firm. "Mrs. Patterson, you're 3 months behind on your $80,000 loan. When can we expect payment?" I stared at my phone in confusion. I'd never taken out a loan in my life. That's when I looked at the signature on the document they'd emailed me. It was mine, but it wasn't. And I knew exactly who'd forged it. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Linda Patterson. I'm 68 years old, a retired schoolteacher, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had a pretty good handle on my life. My credit score was 742. I owned my house outright. I had $60,000 in savings and a pension that covered my expenses comfortably. Then the phone call came. It was a Tuesday morning in September, around 9:30 a.m. I was in my kitchen making oatmeal when my cell phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Linda Patterson?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is she." "Mrs. Patterson, this is Rebecca Chen from Cascade Financial Services. I'm calling about your outstanding auto loan. You're currently 93 days past due. We need to discuss payment arrangements immediately." I set down my spoon slowly. "I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. I don't have an auto loan." There was a pause on the other end. "According to our records, you took out an $80,000 loan with us on June 15th of this year. The loan was for a 2024 Range Rover Evoque. Your first payment was due July 15th, and we haven't received anything since." My heart started pounding. "That's impossible. I haven't bought a car. I drive a 2012 Honda Civic that I paid off 6 years ago." "Mrs. Patterson, I'm looking at your signed loan application right now. It has your name, your social security number, your address, and your signature. Can you email it to me?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. "Of course. What email address should I use?" I gave her my email and hung up. My hands were trembling as I opened my laptop and waited for the message to arrive. When it came through 3 minutes later, I clicked on the attachment with a growing sense of dread. There it was. A loan application from Cascade Financial Services dated June 15th. My name printed neatly at the top. My social security number, which I guarded like a state secret. My home address. And at the bottom, a signature that looked almost exactly like mine. Almost. I'd been signing my name for 68 years. I knew every loop, every slant, every tiny imperfection. This signature was close, very close, but the capital L in Linda was too perfect. My real signature had a little hook at the bottom that came from decades of writing quickly while teaching. This one didn't. Someone had practiced my signature. Someone had studied it carefully enough to forge it convincingly. And that someone had just taken out an $80,000 loan in my name. I sat at my kitchen table staring at that document for a long time. Then I did what I always do when I'm trying to solve a problem. I made a list. Who had access to my personal information? Who had recently asked me about my finances? Who would benefit from a brand new Range Rover? The answer came to me with sickening clarity. Claire. My daughter-in-law Claire had been asking me about my credit score 3 months ago. "Mom, Linda," she'd said sweetly, "Michael and I are thinking about refinancing the house. What's a good credit score to have? What's yours, if you don't mind me asking?" I'd told her. 742. I'd been proud of it. 2 weeks after that conversation, I'd let her borrow my laptop when hers was broken. She'd spent an hour in my den, supposedly checking her email. And just last month, I'd watched her practice my signature on a piece of scrap paper. At the time, I thought she was just doodling while we talked on the phone. She'd said she was designing a new signature for herself because she'd always hated hers. Now I understood what she'd really been doing. My son Michael and Claire had been married for 4 years. She was 32, beautiful, charming, and worked as a real estate agent. Or at least, that's what she told everyone. I'd never actually seen her close a deal or bring home a commission check. Michael was 40, an accountant at a mid-sized firm, steady and reliable. He made good money, around $90,000 a year, but Claire had expensive tastes. Designer handbags, weekly salon appointments, luxury vacations she posted constantly on Instagram. I'd always wondered how they afforded it all. Now I knew. They didn't. I called Cascade Financial back and asked to speak to a supervisor. A man named David Flores got on the line. "Mr. Flores, I need to report fraud. That loan wasn't taken out by me. My signature was forged." "I understand, Mrs. Patterson. We take fraud very seriously. I'm going to start a formal investigation. In the meantime, I need you to file a police report and send us a copy. Can you do that today?" "Yes," I said, my voice stronger now. "I can do that right now." "Good. I also need to ask you, do you have any idea who might have done this?" I hesitated. This was the moment. Once I said her name, there would be no going back. "Yes," I said quietly. "I believe it was my daughter-in-law." That afternoon, I drove to the police station. The officer who took my report was a young woman named Officer Ramirez. She listened carefully as I explained everything, her pen moving steadily across her notepad. "Do you have any proof that your daughter-in-law was involved?" she asked. "Not yet," I admitted. "But I know she had access to my personal information. She borrowed my laptop, asked about my credit score, and I saw her practicing my signature." Officer Ramirez nodded. "That's circumstantial, but it's a start. Here's what I need you to do. Get copies of your credit report from all 3 bureaus. Look for any other accounts or loans you didn't open. Check your bank statements for unusual activity. And most importantly, don't confront your daughter-in-law or your son until we have more evidence." "Why not?" I asked. "Because if she knows you're onto her, she might destroy evidence or flee. Right now, she thinks she got away with it. Let's keep it that way until we build a solid case." I drove home in a daze. When I pulled into my driveway, I saw Michael's car parked on the street. He and Claire were sitting on my front porch, holding hands and smiling. "Mom," Michael called out, waving. "We came by to surprise you. Want to grab lunch?" I forced a smile onto my face. "Of course, sweetheart. Let me just grab my purse." As we drove to the restaurant in their car, I couldn't help but notice it was a brand new Range Rover Evoque. Gleaming black, leather interior, that new car smell. "Nice car," I said casually from the back seat. "Thanks, Mom." Claire beamed, adjusting the rearview mirror. "It's my dream car. I've wanted one of these forever." "How did you afford it?" I asked, keeping my voice light and curious. Claire glanced at Michael, then back at the road. "Oh, we got an amazing deal. The dealership had a special promotion, and with Michael's credit score, we qualified for a great interest rate." "Michael's credit score," I repeated slowly. "Yep." Michael said proudly. 710. "Not as good as yours, Mom, but pretty solid." So, the loan wasn't in Michael's name. It was in mine. Which meant Michael had no idea what his wife had done. Over lunch, I watched Claire carefully. She laughed, told stories about a house she'd supposedly just sold, and squeezed Michael's hand affectionately. She was good. Really good. If I didn't know what I knew, I'd never suspect a thing. "Mom, you seem quiet," Michael said, concern crossing his face. "Everything okay?" "Just a little tired," I lied. "I didn't sleep well last night." "You should take it easy," Claire said, reaching across the table to pat my hand. "At your age, you need to take care of yourself." At your age. Like I was ancient. Like I was too old to notice what was happening right under my nose. I smiled sweetly. "You're right, dear. I'll make sure to rest." After lunch, they dropped me off at home. As I watched them drive away in my $80,000 car, I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. I wasn't just going to report this. I was going to prove it. That evening, I pulled my credit reports from all 3 bureaus. It took an hour of navigating websites and verifying my identity, but eventually, I had all 3 reports printed out in front of me. The auto loan from Cascade Financial was there, of course. $80,000. Opened June 15th. 3 months delinquent. But there was something else. Something I hadn't expected. A credit card from Lux Financial. Opened May 3rd. Balance, $23,000. A personal loan from Summit Bank. Opened April 20th. Balance, $15,000. A line of credit from Premier Lending. Opened March 8th. Balance, $12,000. I stared at the papers, my hands shaking. This wasn't just one forged loan. This was systematic fraud. Over the course of 5 months, Claire had opened 4 different accounts in my name and racked up a total of $130,000 in debt. $130,000. I was going to lose everything. My house, my savings, my retirement. Everything I'd worked for over 40 years of teaching, gone because my daughter-in-law wanted a luxury lifestyle she couldn't afford. I picked up my phone and called Officer Ramirez. "Officer, it's Linda Patterson. I found more. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button." Over the next 2 weeks, I became a woman on a mission. Officer Ramirez connected me with a detective named Marcus Webb who specialized in financial fraud. Detective Webb was in his 50s, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, with the kind of calm competence that made me feel like I wasn't alone in this. "Mrs. Patterson," he said at our first meeting, "I'm going to be honest with you. Cases like this are hard to prove. We need to establish that your daughter-in-law had both the means and the opportunity to access your information. Can you help me build that timeline?" I could. And I did. I pulled my calendar and went back through the past 6 months, marking every time Claire had been in my house, every time she'd asked to use my computer or my phone, every time she'd been alone in a room where I kept important documents. March 5th, Claire borrowed my laptop for 2 hours, said she needed to update her real estate listings. March 8th, a line of credit from Premier Lending was opened in my name. April 18th, Claire asked to use my home office to make private business calls. I'd left her alone for an hour while I ran errands. April 20th, a personal loan from Summit Bank was opened in my name. May 1st, Claire came over for coffee and spent 20 minutes in my den while I was in the kitchen. When I came back, she was standing by my filing cabinet. May 3rd, a credit card from Lux Financial was opened in my name. June 13th, Claire asked if she could borrow my Social Security card because she needed it to verify something with her insurance company. I'd given it to her, trusting her completely. She'd returned it the next day. June 15th, an $80,000 auto loan from Cascade Financial was opened in my name. The pattern was undeniable. "This is good," Detective Webb said, reviewing my timeline. "This is very good. But we need one more thing. We need proof that she actually submitted these applications." "How do we get that?" I asked. "We subpoena the financial institutions for the IP addresses used when the applications were submitted. If any of them match her home IP address or her cell phone, we've got her." "How long will that take?" "A few weeks, maybe a month. These things move slowly. But Mrs. Patterson, I need to ask you something important. Your son. Does he know what his wife has been doing?" I thought about Michael. Sweet, trusting Michael who believed the best in everyone. "No," I said quietly. "I don't think he has any idea. You're going to have to tell him eventually." "I know," I said. "But not yet. Not until we have proof." Detective Webb nodded. "Fair enough. In the meantime, I need you to do something difficult. I need you to act normal around her. Don't let her know you suspect anything." "I can do that," I said, even though the thought of sitting across from Claire and pretending everything was fine made my stomach turn. For the next month, I played the role of oblivious mother-in-law. I smiled at family dinners. I complimented Claire's new designer handbag. I oohed and ahed over photos of their weekend trip to Napa Valley, knowing that every penny was being charged to credit cards in my name. All the while, the debt collectors kept calling. I'd answer each one calmly, explain that I was a fraud victim, and give them Detective Webb's contact information. Some were understanding. Others threatened legal action. One particularly aggressive collector told me I was lying and that I'd be sued for every penny. I documented every call, every threat, every sleepless night spent staring at my ceiling, wondering if I'd lose my house. Then, on October 23rd, Detective Webb called me. "Mrs. Patterson, we got them." My heart leapt. "You have proof?" "We have proof." 3 of the 4 applications were submitted from Claire Patterson's home IP address. The 4th was submitted from a coffee shop Wi-Fi network, but phone records show Claire was at that exact location at that exact time. We also have security footage from the coffee shop showing her on her laptop. "What happens now?" I asked, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles went white. "Now we arrest her." The arrest happened on a Thursday morning at 7:45 a.m. Detective Webb called me beforehand to let me know it was happening, but he asked me not to be present. "Let us handle this part," he said. "You'll have your chance to confront her soon enough." I didn't go. But Michael called me 3 hours later, his voice frantic and broken. "Mom, something crazy is happening. The police arrested Claire. They're saying she committed fraud, that she took out loans in someone else's name. It's insane. It's a mistake. They have the wrong person." I closed my eyes. This was the moment I'd been dreading. "Michael," I said quietly, "it's not a mistake." "What do you mean?" "The loans were in my name. Claire forged my signature and stole my identity." Silence. Long, terrible silence. "That's not possible," he said finally, his voice barely a whisper. "Claire wouldn't do that. She loves you." "Michael, I have proof. Police reports, credit statements, IP address records, security footage. She did this. She's been doing it for months." "No." His voice was stronger now, defensive. "No, there has to be an explanation. Maybe someone hacked her computer. Maybe it was identity theft on both of you." "Michael, she was driving a car purchased with a loan in my name. She's been using credit cards in my name. She's racked up $130,000 in debt that I'm supposed to pay back." Another silence. Then, "I need to go. I need to call a lawyer for Claire." "Michael." He hung up. I sat in my living room, staring at my phone, and felt my heart break. Not for me. For my son. For the moment when he'd finally see the truth about the woman he loved. That moment came 2 weeks later, at Claire's arraignment. I sat in the courtroom, my sister Janet beside me for moral support, and watched as Claire was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled anymore. Her makeup was gone. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Michael sat on her side of the courtroom, his face pale and drawn. The prosecutor laid out the charges: 4 counts of identity theft, 4 counts of fraud, 4 counts of forgery. Each count carried a potential sentence of 5 to 10 years in prison. Claire's lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit, argued for bail. "Your Honor, my client is not a flight risk. She has strong ties to the community, no prior criminal record, and a husband who supports her." The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the defendant systematically defrauded her own mother-in-law over a period of 5 months, stealing over $130,000. She showed careful planning, deliberate deception, and zero remorse. We ask that bail be denied." The judge, a stern-looking woman in her 60s, reviewed the documents in front of her. Then she looked up at Claire. "Miss Patterson, these are serious charges. The evidence presented by the prosecution is substantial. However, given your lack of prior record, I'm willing to grant bail. $500,000. Michael's face went even paler. He didn't have that kind of money. Neither did Claire's parents, who sat behind him looking shell-shocked. Claire was led back out of the courtroom, and Michael stood slowly, his movements mechanical. That's when he finally looked at me. I saw it in his eyes. The moment he stopped defending her and started questioning. The moment doubt crept in. He walked over slowly. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course, sweetheart." We went to a quiet coffee shop 2 blocks from the courthouse. Michael ordered nothing. Just sat across from me, his hands clenched together on the table. "Tell me everything," he said. So, I did. I told him about the phone call from the debt collector, the forged signature, the credit reports showing 4 different accounts. I told him about the timeline I'd built, showing how each account was opened shortly after Claire had access to my personal information. I showed him the police reports, the IP address records, the security footage from the coffee shop. He looked at everything in silence. Then he said, "The Range Rover. She told me it was a special promotion." "It was an $80,000 loan in my name," I said gently. His jaw tightened. "The trip to Napa. She said her commission check came through. It was probably charged to one of the credit cards in my name. The designer handbags. The jewelry. The salon appointments." His voice was hollow. "It was all you. All of it." "Yes." He put his head in his hands. "I'm so stupid. How did I not see it?" "You trusted her," I said. "That's not stupid. That's love. She was stealing from my mother." His voice cracked. "From you. The woman who raised me, who paid for my college, who's always been there for me. And I defended her. I told you there had to be an explanation. You didn't know. I should have known." He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I reached across the table and took his hand. "I forgive you." "How can you forgive me?" "Because you're my son. And because you're not the one who did this." We sat there for a long time, holding hands across a coffee shop table, while the world moved around us. The trial took place 3 months later. Claire's lawyer tried everything. He claimed she was coerced by a mysterious third party. He suggested that I had actually given her permission to use my information and was now lying about it. He even tried to paint me as a vindictive mother-in-law who wanted to destroy her son's marriage. But the evidence was overwhelming. The IP addresses matched. The security footage was clear. The timeline I'd built was airtight. And most damning of all, when investigators searched Claire's home computer, they found a folder labeled Practice containing dozens of images of my signature, scanned from old birthday cards and checks. She'd practiced for months. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison and ordered her to pay full restitution, $130,000, plus interest and legal fees. Michael filed for divorce the next day. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my living room, the same living room where I first opened that devastating email from the debt collector. My credit score has been restored. The fraudulent accounts have been closed. The debt is being repaid slowly through garnishment of Claire's prison wages, though I'll probably never see most of it. But I still have my house. I still have my savings. I still have my dignity. And most importantly, I still have my son. Michael comes over every Sunday for dinner now. We don't talk about Claire much. Sometimes he apologizes again, and I tell him the same thing: the past is past. What matters is that we survived it. Last week, he told me he's seeing a therapist to work through the betrayal and the guilt. I told him I'm proud of him for taking care of his mental health. "Mom," he said as he was leaving, "I want you to know something. I'll never let anyone hurt you like that again. Never." "I know, sweetheart," I said, hugging him tight. "Because here's what I learned through all of this: predators count on your trust. They count on your love. They count on you being too kind, too forgiving, too afraid of conflict to question them. But they don't count on you being smart. They don't count on you documenting everything, building a case, and fighting back with evidence instead of emotions." Claire thought she was clever. She thought she'd found the perfect victim, an elderly woman living alone, too trusting to suspect, too old to fight back. She was wrong on every count. I wasn't a victim. I was a teacher who'd spent 40 years learning how to spot liars, document behavior, and build airtight cases for parent-teacher conferences. And in the end, that's exactly what I did. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments.